What up?
What's up, guys?
How you doing?
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, don't even know what day it is.
I saw a video on Instagram. I think it was last night, yesterday. The guy was counting the days by which alcohol bottle was empty. It's Thursday. It's obviously Thursday, and he pulls up a full bottle of tequila. Like, sweet.
What's up, Z?
Uh-oh. You're on mute.
Oh.
You're good.
Oh, am I there?
Yep, you're there.
There you are.
Okay. I'm just going to listen to your calls every day.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
If only, I wish that there were more people that listened every time I talked. That's like my life goal, is just to have
people listen to you talk.
me be able to rant all the time. It's the best. Should have went into talk show or something like that.
Oh, geez.
That was a good time to start one.
I'm here.
I was brainstorming. It was like a year ago. We were kind of joking around about like different episodes that we could get put together for a web series called The Realtor. And I was like, oh my gosh, this would be so funny because people could like see the shit that we deal with on a daily basis. And then I realized like my career would be over so quick.
Right.
Some of the stuff that goes on, I'm like, maybe not a good idea. Yeah. Just the ways that we react to certain things, the ways that we talk about certain things. Like,
Right.
I don't know how well that would go. Mark, how's everything been, bud?
Good. I got a new listing coming up, which is pretty exciting. What's that?
The one on Union?
No, I'm putting that one back on the market. I don't know if I sent you the revised video, but I changed up the music and I put the flash.
Yeah, I think you did, and I meant to look at it after my Zoom call and then completely forgot about it because that's how my head's working right now.
No, I hear you. I got to get with you and put that, because obviously I can't fit that whole video on the command boost.
Yeah.
So I just need your input, like how to chop that up and maybe create a link or whatever. But this listing came from a referral. The seller died, and so it's in the family.
Yeah.
He passed away a while ago, but their tenants are finally moving out. So
it's vacant?
The tenants are moving out.
That's good.
On the 15th, so I can get access on the 16th. However, he lives in Utah, so they're not really up to speed with the market. And the first thing he said is, hey, let's list it super high and see if we get any bites, and then we'll lower it. And I was like, no, I don't need another listing sitting sale.
Well, we're going to go over some numbers today, and I like numbers because they're definitive, and yet they can be interpreted in a number of ways. And so I'd love to see what your guys' thoughts are on some of the numbers that we're going to talk about, and how we can. I love using numbers when I'm talking to clients because they're cut and dry. It's set in stone.
Did you have a chance to watch the video I sent you?
The email?
Yeah.
Not yet. No, I know that Dan sent an email back. I've got to watch Mark's.
It's
and then
all about numbers. So.
Market stats?
Yeah.
Perfect. See, you're like me. We've got that twisted brain where it's like we run on numbers, and a lot of people are.
I don't know why people fight it. I mean, that's the evidence right there. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know how more definitive we can get when we're talking to clients or people, especially in today's market. Obviously, we don't have enough impact and we don't have enough time on the market to really see what this is all going to bring.
Yeah.
But, March numbers just came in. I think at the end of April, we're going to have more of an idea of how, March was affected year over year. But, listings, I saw listings as down. I think you had mentioned that you saw them as up.
Yeah, we're going to go over them a little bit today. And some of the numbers are surprising to me. And it continues to remind me of something that you said last week. Focus on what we know now. Let's not try to predict the future. Nobody's got a crystal ball. The numbers that we have now are going to help us, navigate things going forward. The less we try to I guess, predict or prophesize, I think the better we're going to be and the smarter we're going to look in the long run, because nobody really knows, man. It's, you know, we've all got our opinions and we've all got our hypotheses about what's going to happen in the next 30, 60, 90 days, but the reality is nobody really knows.
Right.
Did you watch sorry.
Sonia, go ahead.
Did you watch yesterday's Alan Nevin with SDAR? They had a podcast or Zoom.
No, where was that? What, who was supposed to?
It was from SDAR, I believe, and it was an hour long, and they had Alan Nevin on it. They had Scripps, like a nurse, and so they had like 4 different speakers. And Alan Nevin, yeah. So he spoke for 15 minutes about market stats, and it was all positive. And he, like, his whole summary was like, we will bounce back quickly because our market is very different. We are high military, high science. We just gonna have always, you know, people come and go. And his takeaway was not, it was fine, you know, like it wasn't like horrible or anything. So, and he went over some of the numbers, just showing like March was, you know, very strong. Of course, we see a change due to the virus on March 20th, and that's kind of what I went over with for my clients, how you can see on a weekly basis how it changed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've been looking at. Ryan Schick, welcome. Happy to have you, sir. Holden Smith, happy to have you. So let's go ahead and dive in. What I've been looking at are weekly trends, just like you, Sonia. Trying to track in a weekly basis what our numbers are looking like. And so the report, as Mark said, did come out from March. And a couple of interesting things that was in the SDAR report was that the percent of original list price obtained was actually up over February. It was 99% for the month of March. So that's fantastic news for sellers. Even with, you know, the drop in business, we still saw list price to sale price at 99%, which is fantastic. On top of that, the days on market was down in March. So compared to February, it was down about 25%, which is another really telling statistic that sales might be down and yet activity hasn't changed a bunch. There's still a tremendous amount of interest in properties that are move-in ready, that are hitting the high points that buyers are looking for. A couple of big things that I did see though, inventory is down still 30% from last year, which continues to indicate seller's market. Couple that with percent of, you know, list price to sale price and days on market. Everything right now is saying seller's market, seller's market, seller's market. Supply has stayed flat for the year. We're at 1.7 months of supply. And when we start diving into weekly numbers, they're starting to tell a little bit of a different story. And Sonia, I'd love your opinion on some of these numbers, because I talked to Armando on Monday about the difference between our market and a market like Los Angeles, a market like San Francisco. I do think to a degree we are insulated. The financial stability in San Diego and our economics are just made up of a very different demographic and financial clientele, I guess. And so I do think to a degree we are protected, but let's look at the weekly numbers here. If you look at, starting at the first week of March, so March 1st fell on a Sunday, and we went over this a little bit last week, but we're going to continue to look at these numbers. First week of March, the number of listed homes was 1,084. Number of pending was 482. The second week of March, we had listed 1,014. The second week, we had 613 go pending. So a dramatic increase in the number of pendings that second week of March. Now, the third week of March, when the California shelter in place hit, we had 856 properties listed against 602 go pending. So both statistics there are starting to go down. Week 4 in March, we had 730 come active against 472 going pending. That's a big drop on both of those. I think it was 22% that we looked at. Last week, which included the first part of April, the end of March and the first part of April, we had an increase in listings come active. So from 730 the week before to 743 last week. However, the number of pendings went down dramatically. So from 472 the week before to 405 last week. And then up to date this week, as of this morning, We have 335 new actives against 223 pending. So Sonia, Mark, Ryan, Holden, Z, Robin, what we are seeing is a slowdown in activity for sure. And yet it's not necessarily translating to, it's not affecting other areas of the business as much as I thought. So we're seeing, more inventory come to market, which is great. We still see a number of listings continue to pop up, including an increase just last week from the week before. And so we've had the shelter in place since the 20th. We had a week increase in terms of listings come to market. And we also saw about a 16% decrease in pendings. And so what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, when I'm talking to a seller, my stats that I'm throwing in front of them, 99% list price, sell price ratio. Days on market down 25% in March. Inventory down 30% from last year. Supply flat at 1.7 months. And yet when I start looking at weekly statistics and diving into the number of pendings and buyer activity, coupled that with what Jimmy continues to update us on from a loan standpoint, I'm seeing trends that are really shrinking buyer activity dramatically. What are your guys' thoughts?
So did you, are these numbers from today or from yesterday?
This morning.
This morning? Okay. Because I pulled up some numbers yesterday and I think they're pretty similar. I have new listings at 485, pending at 348. What were, for the last 7 days from yesterday.
Okay, I do it on a weekly basis, so from Sunday to Saturday.
Okay.
So my numbers are going to look a little different.
Where do you go?
SDAR.
What's your SDAR?
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to share my screen because I typed it all out, and I literally did all this yesterday, and my numbers are a little bit slightly different, but I think it's depending what you put in. And I shared this with my database, and I hope I can share it.
So if you move around the bottom of your Zoom screen, there's a big green button that says share screen. Go ahead and click on that.
I know, but it wants me to open my preferences, and then it says, that's where I get stuck every time. Like how to make it that my computer allows you. Oh, Zoom, maybe that's what it is.
Thomas Jacobs, welcome, sir.
I might be white. Damn it.
Technology.
Hi, Sonia.
Oh,
welcome to the office. I just want to say hi.
Hi.
There you go. All right, cool.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
I can't see like nothing now. So.
Yeah, you've got to move the Zoom screen around. It's kind of tricky to navigate.
Man, I see all of you, but I don't see the full.
So I see part of. Oh wait, actually, I'll just move this over. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, so let me see how I make this bigger. Can you see it now all the way?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
So this is, I pulled detached, attached properties in San Diego County, and I went from Monday through Sunday. So I skipped March 1st.
Yeah, that's probably why our numbers are a little bit different. I'm doing Sunday to Saturday. So my week is literally 3/1 to 3/7.
Yeah, and then you can see, like, I only listed like the properties that were actually listed, not, adding on, but you can see like how actors increased, steadily, where literally with March 20th, we saw the decrease in pendings and solds, which I think solds is kind of weird because that's usually from, 20, 30 days ago. So that could have been also with end of month and, who knows what, but that's kind of it's a very easy graphic to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the sold, you're right, I haven't been paying attention to as much yet, just because a lot of the ones that we're selling in March most likely went pending before the shelter in place. I think in the next 2 weeks, we'll start to see a difference in inventory. The reason I don't actually limit, so when I go to let me see if I can pull it up. I'll do it in just a second. When I search, I actually don't search for active properties. What I search for is listed date. because if it was listed between
Yes.
3.1 and 3.7, it's not going to show up as active if it's gone pending. So the pendings have been pretty accurate, and I've been keeping track of those.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Our numbers are a little bit off, but I think we're seeing pretty much the identical trends there.
Yeah.
With an increase at the beginning of the month to middle of the month, and then a pretty sharp decline in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So we started to
And then-
see, you know, I think it's traditional around this time of year, we start to see an increase in activity, which, you know, is shown in your graphic when we look at pendings that second and third week of March. And then the shelter in place hit, as you've got designated there, on 3/20, coinciding with a pretty big drop the next 2 weeks.
Another
I think
graphic that, sorry.
No, I think that's just pretty evident. Like, obviously, the actives are probably more so going to remain the same because, you know, these people didn't just decide on March 9th to list their home. This is something they've been planning. So, you know, they don't want to alter their plans. So I think these numbers probably won't change much, but the pendings, the buyers have a decision to make. Now they can stay in place and not go anywhere. And I think that's evident in the drop in the pending and the solds. I think the biggest thing for sellers right now is, you know, their why. And, you know, their why was to list in March, April, May, right? Try to price ahead of the market, try to get before we peak in May. And I don't think that has changed. I think that obviously difference is the pendings where the buyers just had a choice to say, you know what, I want to see where this market's going to go. And then the fear set in and people kind of sat back a little bit and said, whoa, let me let the dust settle before I make a decision and invest.
And Sonia, I'd love to pick your brain a little bit. I love this graphic, putting this in front of somebody. You know, it's like you said, numbers don't lie. Numbers are the evidence that we need to make our case when we're talking about price, when we're talking about market strength, when we're talking about, you know, making sure that people have the right information to make good decisions on home buying and selling. One thing that you know, we talked at the beginning of the call, everything's still indicating a seller's market. You know, 99% list price to sale price. Days on market is down 25% from February. Inventory still down from last year. And yet when you go look at that graphic, what we're seeing is still, as Mark kind of said, either a flattening or even potentially in certain weeks, an increase in active listings against a slower buyer's market. So I think it's inevitable that at minimum, we see an increase in months of inventory. You know, even if our inventory stays flat, the buyer activity alone is going to increase our months of inventory. But even here, it's showing that our inventory is increasing to a degree over the last couple of weeks.
I just don't think we're going to be in a buyer's market anytime soon because our inventory is so low.
Yeah.
At 1.6 months. We are definitely in seller's market. For us to become a buyer's market, we have to have like 6 months of inventory. That's you know, it's not going to happen because we just simply don't have that inventory. We don't have any new construction really. And like the talking points that I made, because people are like, are we going to crash? Are we going to be in a recession? My next slide was about basically what the difference is between then and now, like how inventory is, which is, you know, we sold basically, I mean, these numbers, it's just, to show.
And that's something that I wanted to start look at was 2006, 7, and 8 versus 2020, what we're in now. And I was going to pull some of those numbers next week. Mark, did you have something?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I was really big and down, or I was in the market. I was in a real estate back then, and I actually lived downtown. And downtown alone I took that slide out, but there were 58 new properties. There were 26,000 properties because you don't see it in the MLS because all the builders didn't put all, they built 300 units, but they only put 10 into the MLS. So knowing all those numbers, and I had all the builder plans and everything, I know from the numbers, you can't pull the numbers because they are not showing in the system.
Yeah.
So I got the numbers from way back when, they had stories. And if you look at the reports, that's where I got the 26,000, because that's actually what we had, which you did not see in the system, but that was the real inventory. And that's why,
Because
and then
makes sense.
Alan Nevin gave yesterday these two slides, which I thought was really interesting, because we are talking about the unemployment, which of course we're gonna go, it's gonna go crazy. However, we already started in March to have a lot of people apply for it, and it only shows 4.4%. In 2008, we were 6.8. Then job openings, we actually have 7 million job openings compared to 3 million back then. And then he was also talking about the mortgage rates, like how low they are now.
Yeah.
And we don't have foreclosures. So this, I thought, was, again, great talking point with clients that are like freaking out about what's going on. If you really look at the numbers, they're not that bad yet. Of course, it's going to change, but it's not what you hear on the news. And then the last chart that he gave was unemployment February this year versus March, which increased by 0.9. But still, those numbers are not.
That was expected.
Yeah, it's like for the millions and millions of jobs we have, that number is really small. And then he also compared it to 20 something, where we had a recession. And back then, the jobs back then were in a whole different category than now. Like a lot of jobs are in manufacturing. So it's like, it was very interesting to see that, anyways, it's not as horrible as it sounds on the news. And that's what our clients are listening to.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And, we keep talking, Mark, about everybody thinking they've got the crystal ball, like this is going to do this is going to be a next recession, this is going to, we're going to see a massive drop in the housing market and a huge surge in unemployment. And to an extent, yeah, some of that is absolutely true. You have to kind of focus. Or at least right now, I think that the smart thing to do is present the numbers that we have. I would love, and I'll dive into some of this, I would love to see if we can pull San Diego statistics. Because Sonia, as you said in the beginning, I think we are, to a degree, kind of insulated from some of this. The national statistics aren't going to tell the story of what we're going to see locally here, because I think we have a very different demographic and a very different buyer pool. So I'll see if I can pull up some local San Diego statistics to put against this.
Are those rates, unemployment rates, is that San Diego or is that nationwide?
That's nationwide.
This is nationwide, yeah.
Oh, because I was watching yesterday, and they had our unemployment up at 6.8, and they projected by the end of August to almost be 9%.
That's here in San Diego?
Nationwide.
Oh,
But
okay.
this is for March, so the number is not right this moment. It's for March.
Just March
at the
alone.
end of March. Yeah, like basically this is February at 3.5 and the March. So yes, we're going to be higher, but seeing that by end of March, we already had, a lot of people going to the city and filing for unemployment. I was bummed that he didn't have, did I do something? What happened?
If you go to the top of your screen and click close share. I think.
Pause share?
Yep.
Stop share. There we go.
Of course,
I literally didn't touch anything. I'm like, what happened? I was surprised that Alan didn't show the numbers for San Diego, and maybe they don't have them yet. I don't know. But for nationwide, I thought that was a great slide just to see real numbers.
Yeah. Thomas, Jacobs, or Olson, I'd love to get your thoughts. I don't know what you guys missed. If I can catch you up on anything or fill you in, let me know.
Appreciate that. Just following along with all the market stats, what's going on, bigger picture, and just absorbing it all in. How's your arm? I slept last night for the first time. We got out of the hard cast. I'm in a smaller one now, so it's a win. It's a win. Stay healthy, brother. We're glad that you're doing well.
It was like breaking something. I broke my thumb too. So.
What is wrong with you guys? What the hell is going on?
Well, I thought we're supposed to be healthier locked in the house.
I know, geez, Louise, everybody's out like evil Knievel. Or what'd you do?
I fell down, so I just hit my thing and just broke my thumb, so just go figure.
Guys, get it together, please. We gotta like put you guys in bubble wrap. What the hell?
I know, you're in your own home.
Dude,
Most
there's
of
literally-
90% of the accidents happens at home. Apparently, that's what.
this is literally like the safest time.
Don't just
Ryan-
get a fake alert or something. It's where we're just destined something's gonna happen.
Ryan, I'd love to get your take on some of these numbers that we've been talking about, man. You were here at the beginning of the call when we went over some of the really good seller stats. What are your thoughts?
Well, I have a couple of clients I've had discussions with. They have plans to list their homes now or soon, and they're still planning on doing it because comps are up and they could get more difficult in the next 3 months. So they want to take advantage of it. They have seen the days on market drop. It's already really low. So my clients have been very nervous about putting their home on the market, but they want a different home. And so they're still going to go forward with it in the next few weeks. And these stats are really good to share. I have not been pulling stats for the last few weeks. So it was good to check some of those out so I can share those with any potential sellers. I picked up a buyer yesterday that's going to be patient, and we're looking for a deal. We're looking for a seller that's a little more nervous. Not every seller or listing agent is going to admit that they're having a tough time selling a property, but there's going to be a lot of sellers and agents with a plan that's not real effective, and we'll bring the prices down if we can, and be, shooting strong offers where need be and low balls as much as possible to get them deals. I'm staying busy because I work with a lot of buyers, but I am anxious to get a couple of listings sold. I'm getting people calling me on my listing, and I just still need to put it together. So I need to run those numbers more often because they're very helpful. So it was good to see them.
I'm on the other side of the end because I could get listings. So I've been calling the investors that I have, say, hey, it's peak. So if you're thinking about it, let's do it right now. Let's pull the trigger and get it in there and get it done. And I have, I got listed one and I got 2 others coming up. So it just, the whole idea is, I think it's peaked right now. In the next 6 months or so, we're going to see a drop. Looks what the trend is, where the banks are. I don't know, you guys heard our Jimmy yesterday, and I called 3 other people. Right now, the jumbo rates, the cap is 20%. So if you get any offers on a jumbo rate, 90% or 85%, don't accept it. And cross verify if you can. That's the magic thing. Somebody that you trust, some bank or a mortgage company you trust, cross qualify those offers and make sure they do, you say, hey, here's what I have, and cross qualify with them with the stuff. The FICO score is important. 80% is 20% down is important right now. So when you have listings, make sure do your due diligence before you accept an offer in the market.
Yeah, 100% agree, guys. We're going to have to babysit, I think, a little bit more than we're probably used to, and be a lot more mindful of some of the other variables that we didn't necessarily have to keep in mind as much before. As Orr said, cross-qualify, have the loans running parallel to each other as much as you can. Get the lender that you prefer, that you work with. Michael Winter sent over some contact information. He's got a lender, I think he said with US Bank, that is still doing, I think Jimmy said that they're not really doing jumbo loans under 30% or something.
3%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Minimum 20%.
Yeah. So
He said to be safe. He said to be safe, make sure they're at around 30% down.
We still have lenders doing it at 20.
Freddie Mac is not approving the desktop approvals. It's minimum at 20% down, at minimum, with high FICO score. So more down, better it is, and make sure cross-check and cross-qualify with whoever that you trust, your preferred lender, so we can go ahead and get that thing taken care of when you accepting an offer. So.
Ryan Schick, you hit on something that they really push a lot in the shift book, and I hope you guys are picking this thing up. There's a ton of nuggets. And a lot of it honestly it's kind of just like those, like, yeah, duh, that makes sense, but things that we don't necessarily think about. And Ryan, you just said something that is an indicator of what we see more in a buyer's market. Buyers are always looking for deals. But when you've got buyers now that are like, you know what, no, I'm comfortable waiting because I think the market's going to go down, that's our indication. So if we start to see those statistics that we talked about at the very beginning, list price to sale price ratio going down, if we start to see days on market going up and inventory going up, that's when we start to say, like, look, we are headed to a different market. I think it's 3 months on market, 3 to 4 months on market is considered a neutral market. Is it 4? Anything over 4? Sonia, do you know what it is?
Over 4.
I thought a neutral market is 5 to 6 months, where San Diego is usually more on the lower side because of where we are.
Yeah.
And then above 6 months is buyer's market.
Can I ask a silly question that you guys have probably covered before and I missed it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
The PED document and booties for showings, are we required to get a document signed before every showing?
Yes.
On that PED document? Okay.
Correct.
No big deal. And
every showing.
booties are required?
So here's what I would love to push while we've got some folks in the room. And Peter brought up something, and I don't want to be overly gloomy, but I do want to be realistic. Peter Jersey, our amazing broker, brought up the mesothelioma advertisements that you see on TV. There will be lawsuits that come from, you know, this 6 month stretch that we're going to have to deal with. If somebody gets a cough and they allowed somebody in their home, we're talking about potentially, you know, massive lawsuits. So as a real estate agent, you know, we've been pretty lax, I think, in pushing this message out because we need to continue to transact. We want to make sure that we're helping our clients, and we absolutely have to recognize that the safety of our clients and the safety of the homeowners that we're going into has to be paramount. So booties, yeah, for sure. If you've got a balloon that you can put your clients in, do that. Anything that you can do to ensure the safety of the homeowner, your buyer, you obviously take extra precautions.
Does anybody have any booties?
Oh man.
I have booties, but I don't have gloves or masks.
I've got extra gloves. If you want to pick some up in PV, I'll loan you a few pairs. I mean, easy.
Sharing is caring. Some booties for some gloves.
You're in PV, right, Sonia? Are you still in
No.
PV, or you bought a place, right?
Yeah, we are in Bay Park.
Cool. Who wrestled you to our office? Welcome to our office.
Booties, try Home Depot.
Yeah, I don't think that supply has run low. I know there's like food service handling gloves that you could probably get at like Smart and Final or a grocery store, unless people have caught on that that's what they're using. But I've seen them on the shelves. But I would make that a listing gift. You know, I saw something. It's
there
funny.
You go. Yeah.
You know,
I make my own.
Make me some booties.
There you go.
Sonia, this is so easy to make. If you have a handkerchief or a bandana and 2 hair ties, I'll send you a video. It's the easiest thing. I wore this to Costco yesterday and to the grocery store. It was perfect. And I have plastic gloves I can send you too.
Well, I know about the bandanas, but if I meet a client, I don't want to be here, use this bandana. Like it's not for me. I have like 1 pair of gloves and I got my face mask, but to meet clients, I don't have things to give out. That's where I'm like, you know.
I hear you.
I would also say that if you're using booties and gloves, not to recycle them. So the only problem with that is, you know, finding, you know, you can't have somebody put a pair of booties on and then leave them at the door when they leave. You know, they're going to have to leave with them, and they're going to have to dispose of them at their own, you know, regard. But, you know, going back to the lawsuits, I thought about that a little bit more yesterday too. And I think that's going to be a really difficult case for anybody to prove where that virus or where that cough came from. I mean, it's going to be really tough. Not to say that don't use those disclosures, but I don't think that there's going to be a really big draw of people pointing fingers and saying, oh, it was 123 Maple, but we saw 4 other properties that day. And I think that's where I started coughing, you know?
Yeah.
Because sometimes the symptoms don't even come till 2 weeks, 3 days to 5 days to 2 weeks, or, you know, for that matter. So I think that'll be tough, but definitely take precaution.
Yeah, every client would be different.
Yeah.
Right.
I had a colleague that teach me, never underestimate the sales ability of a lawyer. And all it takes is one, you know.
Well, I think if you go back, if you're representing a buyer and you track back and then you have a seller that could have tested positive and they didn't disclose that and they were letting people in their home as they were quarantined themselves, and I think that would be more evidence that you would need. But, you know, to be able to track it all back, I just think it would be really tough. But I think lawyers are probably chomping at the bit.
I think they're waiting. I think they're absolutely just looking at this as a potential paycheck for sure. And it's something that you know, we just gotta, I love that he brought it up. I don't want it to spook anybody unnecessarily, and yet making sure that we are conscious of that and we know, or not even anticipate it, but we recognize that as a possibility. I think that's important.
Can I ask one more question?
Of course.
You guys might already cover it. Sorry for bringing it up again.
No,
if I have a tenant or a client that is still living in their house, if they were to leave for 4 or 5 days, is it okay to do showings at that house since they live there, or do we need to avoid that altogether and only do virtual showings until they're in escrow?
So our stance is when virtual is possible, absolutely go that route. I'm going to keep it worded simple, just that way. I will go further and say that Los Angeles County earlier this week on Monday outlawed any in-person showings altogether.
I think that's the route my client would go.
I think that's the way that we're probably headed in the near future.
Just the vacant listings obviously are a little different.
Our stance is when possible, do a virtual showing.
Right.
I'm gonna keep that general.
Cool.
I think we're gonna see more listings with showings with accepted offer only.
Yeah.
So we only the same like with like I hope I'm gonna get a listing I'm working on, which is tenant occupied, and it's gonna be like I need to see your pre-approval before you even I have a showing, like really qualify the buyers versus you know, if they're just starting to look or if they're just kind of cute, you know, like no. You have to be 100% interested in this property.
And I think, or you brought up last week, a pre-qual right now to me is nothing. I want pre-approval. Go through it.
Yeah.
You know.
I use that term the wrong way every time.
No, you said it right. I just want to make sure a pre-qualification is nothing to me. And you need to go through the full pre-approval process. Even have a chance to look at the property.
It's Fannie Mae desk approval or something that with the number on, because they issue a number. So they know exactly what it means. When you call the lender, you say, hey, do you have the Fannie Mae approval number? So that should be part of the approval letter, submitting it. Also, the new listing I got it 3D. The Film 360 actually is doing the film today. So we did this floor plan. We're doing the dimensions. We're doing the website, and also we're gonna have the still shots taken tomorrow, and it's staged. So right after the stage and the photo shoot, I'm gonna actually have the cleaning crew going in there and sanitize the whole place. It's a vacant unit, so we have to do over and beyond right now. Unfortunately, it's one of those things. I know it's gonna cost a little bit, but you know, it's part of the thing. I don't, you know, in a few months, if you guys see 1-800-OVID-19, call for suing, and that's what's gonna happen with the So, and booties, I think they're at the Home Depot. They have still stocks in there, and they're getting it. There are some gloves at the Home Depot that you might want to get, but the masks are absolutely out. I looked everywhere. I ordered it from 3 different places. Their estimated arrival like late May. So,
you know, I was just thinking about the booties. I got mine actually from a title rep.
That's a good call.
They might actually still have them.
You know, it might be smart, guys, and this might sound a little extreme, Ryan, to kind of go back to your original question. I mean, I'm just being overly cautious. Having recycled booties is probably a terrible idea. You might put in showing instructions, no showings without booties, face masks, gloves, etc. Put it on the buyer's agent. You know,
I need more showings, so that'd be a good problem.
Yeah. A couple things, or you brought up something fantastic. And thank you so much, dude. The MLS just changed their guidelines for what you see in advertising remarks. You can now put a property, a link in the advertising remarks to a property website with property information, video, etc. That's a big deal. And a huge caveat to that is it has to be a completely unbranded website. So it's got to be the most generic property-based site. It can't have your name, your logo on it. We're trying to figure out if we still need the DRE contact information on there. CAR does stipulate that you have to have your DRE and your broker's DRE on there. So we're trying to figure out how to navigate that. But just so you guys know, they are being a little bit more lax on how they're regulating the advertising remarks. So if you've got an unbranded property website or an unbranded landing page for your listings, you can now put those in advertising remarks. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I got to stress the unbranded part.
Yeah.
I don't know how to navigate that just yet. As soon as we get more information specifically around the DRE numbers, I'll get back to you. But that was a big update that we got this week.
And when you get a listing, make sure on the lockbox thing, say no.
Yeah.
And make sure on the showing instructions, make as much as detail as possible what you want. Attach all the documents on the documents part of the MLS, and make sure the seller signs it. I'm talking about the listing part of it. Make sure all documents are available on the documents part, and make sure you get it before you actually allow them to go at the property.
And don't forget the PEAD, guys. That's required for any showing. Yeah. So that's not upon accepted offer. That's anybody that goes in the house. We're going to need that document.
Question: if there's 3 showings, do we need to write an address on each PEAD document?
Yeah.
Okay. And then again, sorry for bringing this up because probably already covered it this week and I wasn't around.
You're good.
For my current listing, I probably should reach out to my client, make sure she's comfortable with there's an addendum for my listing that I need to get her to autograph.
Yes.
And then follow her instructions on how she'd like me to have her show her vacant condo, right?
Absolutely.
It's up to her based on the guidelines that we have, right?
Yeah, everybody should have the CVA and then the new RLA signed.
So if we have a current listing agreement, it's the CVA we need to add to it?
Yes, the coronavirus. Mm-hmm.
Okay. For the listings, it's different than for the buyers, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. The buyer and the seller are going to want to sign the CVA.
Oh, you're right.
Okay. Get the seller to sign it. Correct.
It is the same. Okay.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. Last thing I want to talk about before we break, guys, are the SBA loans. We're getting a ton of questions on there and a ton of kind of funky information. I'd love to kind of open this up, see if anybody's read anything, seen anything. They've expanded funding for it. I'm just starting to see news come out with, I guess, results of those applications. Has anybody heard or seen anything with the SBA loans?
Nope.
The banks are last I heard on the news, they're overwhelmed with the applications right now. So, and I've been watching it, and they said some of the big banks like Wells Fargo, Chase, and what was the other one that is, and they said they have not processed any of them, and their system is not up and running right now because it started as a Monday, I think, and they're suggesting is wait a week or so and then start filing it because it goes through the banks. And I checked with my bank, and I bank with US Bank, and they actually start taking applications on it. They're ready to go. But the other like a super mega banks, I guess they're not set up yet. And I heard this from my tax accountant as well, just to let you guys know. IRS is closed. No joke. They divert most of their staff into different departments. So they're not answering. If you try to get a hold of the IRS, you will not get a person that is actually going to answer your calls because they postponed it to July 15, the filing deadline. And they're they're swamped with other stuff right now. They're diverting the IRS people into the different departments. So their staff is extremely low. So if anybody's going to call the IRS, you're going to wait on the phone for like 5-6 hours. So
even more so than usual. I heard some similar stuff, or thank you for that, man. I heard at the beginning of the week that banks were still kind of waiting on federal direction on how to disperse funds and take applications. And so I just want to let you guys know it's something that I'm trying to keep a pulse on. And as soon as I get good definitive information, I'll absolutely pass it on. I did hear something, or respectfully, a little bit different. I have heard from colleagues, don't wait to apply. There are a finite number of applications that they're going to be able to approve because funding is, absolutely limited. They did, push a bunch of money into the fund, and yet there's only so many that they're going to be able to disperse. So if you're thinking about it, I would say consider starting the application. Sonia?
So I would suggest you just need to call your bank, because you have to go through your bank. I'm with US Bank as well. And the day before it, I think April 3rd was the day they activated it. I applied online. The application is online. You don't send, you don't fill out the paperwork anymore, and I get an update almost twice a day from them. Like, they received it, they're working on it. Right now I'm next in line in processing. So that's what they're telling me at least, but I know it's in. Like, I submitted it as soon that link was up, and it's all happening.
The US Bank is pretty good. So
good. Sonia, if you don't mind,
are we all talking about?
So, but I wouldn't wait either.
Release?
Yeah. Say that again, Mark.
No, I'm doing the pay. The payment.
I think we're talking about different things.
Well, the SBA loans. This one is the
PPP.
PPP.
PPP, yeah.
Payroll
payment protection or something like that.
Yeah.
PPP, yeah.
Okay.
So that one you have to go through your bank.
There's a few different ones. Yeah, but there's a SBA economic disaster up to 10,000 as well. What I've read on that is that does not need to be paid back, but I haven't gone through the details. I was going to look into that. I think Ryan Ahern had posted some videos on that as well.
See, I heard that.
Heard back.
I saw, my understanding was that one you have to pay back. The payment protection, the payroll protection, it's 8 weeks that you don't have to pay back.
I'll get some information. I think details right now are not as available as we'd like. That's why I definitely wanted to bring it up, and I think we all are getting different bits of info. So as soon as I've got a clear idea of what's going on, I'll absolutely relay that. Sound good?
Yep.
I think that's about all I had today, guys. Any questions? Anything you want to cover? Ryan Schick, any other questions, buddy? Congratulations on your March. You were one of our top individual performers for the month.
Thanks. We all need to keep it rolling.
Yeah, buddy. Mark, anything you need, brother?
Nope. Just keep plugging.
Keep plugging. Thomas Jacobs, you good?
Great. And I also didn't realize your beard had so much red in it. That threw me off.
I feel like a dirty leprechaun. It's disgusting. I think this is the longest it's probably ever been. So I didn't realize it had that much red in it. And the longer
I rock with it.
The more I hate it. It's so gross, dude. I got one white hair growing in over here, so I'm hoping that kind of stuff.
Only white, only one.
Only one, man. I'm hoping for a couple more because the red's not really a good look for me.
Just pull out the Tiger King stash for next meeting.
I look like a dirty leprechaun.
I think I could rock the Tiger King. Me and Chad could end up opening our own zoo. Or are you good, man? You need anything?
No, we're good. I'm trying to stay up with the forums and stuff. Thank Peter for me for all the forums that he posted up. That's great.
Here's my business partner.
What's up, dude? That's the brains behind the operation, I'm sure, huh?
He's like, Daddy, we did our chores. Can we play Fortnite?
Yes.
Valid question.
Yes. Who had a question? Am I tripping out?
We want to see Robin's
I don't
cat.
know. I heard that too.
Sonia, do you need anything? Thank you so much for continuing to be a part of the calls. Z, anything before we go?
Nope, I think we're good. I wanted to, you guys were in the middle of conversation, but I wanted to say we did have, we had a great month last month, but we also did have 9 cancellations last month.
Wow.
And which is an extremely high number. There was only, I think, 2 that were canceled due to the fact of losing their jobs. But there was one property that was an investment property that we went through 4 different investors before it finally closed. So personally, like, I have a feeling that investors are also a little bit scared at the times in order, you get those offers for a 7-10 day cash close, and it's an LLC or a corporation, and then you don't get your earnest money deposit for a couple of days, and it's going to back out. And we had one property backed out 4 times. So I don't know, it's kind of weird over here too.
Was that Kyoko's?
Yes.
But she finally got it closed, right?
Oh, it was brutal, but it closed. Yeah.
Good.
I had an investor for her, but her seller wanted something specific. And I honestly, I'm not going to lie, I was very surprised that it closed, but I'm happy it did close, because it was just one after another, after another, after another. But
good.
So we're seeing a little bit of both, on this end, but we're still opening and closing deals.
If you don't mind, I'd love to keep track of how many cancellations we've got. I want to make sure that our agents know how to tackle those conversations, because we do have to have very honest and blunt conversations. If a seller's thinking about pulling a listing, well, dude, we're getting 99% list price to sale price. Go back to, I don't know who said it, go back to their why, figure out what the motivation is to sell. Continue
I'd like to sit on these calls, if you don't mind, every day, just so I can get a feel of what's going on, and if you guys need anything, and see what your input is on everything going on, because it's going to affect our business here at CalCoast as well.
Yeah. That's what they're for. The collaboration, I think, is crucial, and I can't say thanks enough to everybody for being a part of them. If you guys don't mind, a big round of applause for Robin for continuing to put these together. She's absolutely crushing it. And
thank you, Robin.
Wouldn't be able to do any of this without her guidance. She's kind of the captain behind this whole thing. Anybody else need anything? We've got Jimmy jumping in on the call tomorrow. We're going to talk specifically about financing, creative financing, ways to tackle some of the buyer issues that we are probably inevitably going to run into. We'll talk about some of the different stuff that we're seeing about, with jumbo loans for sure, or as you mentioned. But anybody need anything today regarding the market stats and stuff that we talked about?
You know what? There was one more question I had.
Yes, sir.
The addendum that I need to attach to my current listing, is it in fact the same document that a buyer would submit with an offer, where there's 2 boxes to check where they can back out at any time, or it's actually a different addendum, right?
It's the same thing. It's the coronavirus addendum.
So a listing, the seller will get to decide whether right now, they won't have to check those boxes right now, right?
So yeah, and it's important to make sure that you guys know the CVA is meant to protect the buyer. Yeah. And we absolutely want the seller to agree to it.
So both boxes checked, or?
So you can distinguish between which direction you want to go.
Okay.
So you can extend it.
And a buyer, of course, could submit an offer based on what they're comfortable with.
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. Right on.
Well, there are 4 different forms. And I think it's the email from today from Robin had all them in there, but the one that goes with the listing agreement is the RLA, CAA, and the PED.
The PED is for showings. So that's on a case. The PED is every time somebody goes into the property. The CAA is the new listing agreement, and then the CVA is basically the buyer protection coronavirus addendum.
But with a current listing, we can just use the CVA, not the CIA, right? Or CA.
CAA. I believe that's how we're doing it. Let me get with Peter and figure out if we're completely replacing new listing agreements with the RLA CAA. And if it's all right, I'll email everybody to make sure that we've got clarity on that.
I need to extend my listing anyway.
So.
What's that?
Ryan.
Yeah.
Ryan, check with your TC Shannon. She's been sending out really informative emails to everybody, and she's all up on the on all the forms. So double check with her as well.
That's cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
I was going to say maybe we can invite Dawn for some clarity on those differences as well.
She's been just such a killer resource. I'll get with her as well and see how they're tackling it. All right, guys, you guys are the best. I look forward to chatting with y'all soon. If you need anything, as always, just let us know. You guys stay safe.
All right.
Thanks a bunch, guys.
Cool.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Robin.
Thank y'all.
Bye, guys.
Bye now.